Hello, I'm Nick Collins, live at St George's Park with the Sun, supported by Utilita Energy. We're going to watch England's final training session before they head off to northern Portugal for the European Nations League semi-final game against the Netherlands tomorrow night. And we can start with some breaking news because 23 in the squad but only 22 are training. Jordan Henderson is doing his own special preparations ahead of this game. Let me now bring in as our special guest the Sun football reporter Mike McGrath. Mike, welcome, thanks for joining us. What do you make of the fact that Jordan Henderson isn't training? This is match day -1 after all.
Well, it's not a significant injury that we know of, but I think it is significant that he won't be training with the rest of the squad today because, this is the final training session before they face Holland, and they'll be going through important things like the shape work and set pieces, which you want your first team players to be involved in and know everything before they face Holland. So it could point towards possibly some team selection that Gareth has in mind. The fact that Jordan Henderson has played the biggest match of his life a few days ago, and now he's got to get himself up ready for England.
How much will England want to exploit that feel-good factor of Jordan Henderson being the captain of the Champions League winners?
I think you talk about tiredness among players. I think if you're Jordan Henderson, you have absolute you just have adrenaline running through your body, and I don't think tiredness would come into play at all. I think it would be more a case of that he's on such a high after the weekend that he'd want to play immediately because of all those positive endorphins, everything that associates itself with what is the biggest win of his career.
If he is fit, there's no question he would start, one would have thought.
I think that he's a player that Gareth Southgate trusts. When I watch him play, he keeps the ball ticking over. He's a better passer maybe than people give him credit for in an England shirt. And I would say for a big game, he would be one that Gareth would be looking at for playing. But he does have some really good backup players coming through, like Declan Rice, who could step in. And I think this is a 180-minute weekend, hopefully, for them, where they've got two games and they can plan for two, not just the Holland one.
It's a fascinating dynamic, though, this, isn't it, Mike? Because for the first time in front of the cameras, anyway, I know they probably trained yesterday together, but we've got Liverpool and Tottenham players who were opponents in the All-English Champions League final in Madrid on Saturday, and here they are, teammates and training together. Is that going to be difficult for either of the sets of players?
I think in years gone by, it might have been, actually. These players... Danny Rose is on the same wing as Trent Alexander-Arnold, looking face to face, going for this massive prize, the biggest prize in club football. But I also think it's a different era, and I think it's the hard work that Gareth Southgate's done in the last couple of years to forge a really strong bond between these players. And I think that, given that bond, that when they came back earlier this week, there were hugs, embraces between the players. And I think that they are close enough to put that to one side for what is a big prize for them and a really big weekend.
Yeah, we saw some great pictures in the Sun this morning of the players meeting up, and obviously the first time they would have seen each other since Madrid. But it's interesting the way things have developed then with England, that you feel that isn't an issue, because as you very rightly pointed out, it has been in the past. England for years have strived to be Club England. Do you think they're finally actually managing to achieve that now?
I think Russia proved that, and the progress since. I think they are a very, very tight unit, and England legends of the past like Rio Ferdinand and John Terry, they've talked about how difficult that was for them to put the Premier League rivalries, Champions League rivalries to one side, and it became quite a fractured squad. I don't think you can see these guys now training, and just from being around the squad, I really feel that there is a closeness where they care about each other, and that's, I think, down to what Gareth Southgate has done. He's had them away on marine courses. He's had, and they've really felt that bond together, which I think is testament to his management of the squad as much as tactics and winning games is as well.
Now, obviously, the three goalkeepers came out earlier to start their training session, but when the other 19 outfield players came out, they were led by Harry Kane, the captain. He's fit again, having played in that Champions League final, albeit on a losing side. If you were Gareth Southgate, does he start for you tomorrow night against the Netherlands, or are there still match sharpness issues about him?
So I think there's two different points to that question. I think if I was Gareth Southgate, I would probably have him on the bench, ready to come on for the last 20 minutes and give that fear factor into Holland that they've got their talisman on the bench. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. There's no shame in starting on the bench for this England team. However, I do think that Gareth Southgate is a player who relies on those players that he knows. He's given Kane the armband for a reason, that he is England's best player. He's their top scorer in this squad, and he should be match fit or fully fit. He should be in that starting 11, which is why I think he probably will start him. But if it were me, I would probably look at giving him the last 25 minutes.
It would be a big call if he didn't, though. Having said that, isn't it? I mean, 22 goals, 37 internationals, fantastic strike rate, better than 1 and 2. As you said, he's a great leader. He is the talisman of this team. And yet he's been ruthless before, Gareth, because he wouldn't play Harry Kane in that dead rubber game in the group against Belgium because he wanted to keep him for the knockout stages. So he's not frightened of wielding the axe for tactical reasons.
Yeah, who would be the man to drop Harry Kane? I think he's a brave enough manager to do that. What I would also say is I think he's got some really talented forwards. I think Raheem Sterling, he's attending the press conference later. I think he's a guaranteed starter with the season that he's had. I also think that there are players like Jadon Sancho who are really pushing to be included in that forward line. And I don't think that I think they will still have a very, very potent forward line, even if Harry Kane starts on the bench.
We'll come back and talk about Raheem Sterling in detail in a little while, Mike, but let's continue our Liverpool-Tottenham theme, if you will, and talk about Dele Alli. Now, opinions divided as to what kind of form he's in. You get the chance to see him on a very regular basis. What's your assessment of how well or otherwise Dele Alli is playing at the moment?
Well, I thought it was a poor game for him on Saturday. I think that chance that he had a chance to have a real blast at goal, and he went for a chip, and I think that kind of tells you about his confidence at the moment. I still think that he is a player. He's always got a goal in him, and he'll be important at set pieces in terms of his heading as well. And I think that he is a player that they will look to start for his quality.
I'm Nick Collins with our special guest Mike McGrath, the Sun football reporter. We're live at St George's Park with the Sun, supported by Utilita Energy, as we watch England's final training session ahead of departing this afternoon for northern Portugal and the European nations semi-final against the Netherlands tomorrow night. Okay, so let's move on, continuing our look at Tottenham and the Liverpool players, and talk about Trent Alexander-Arnold. What a fantastic season again for him. He does seem to have a great head on him for the big occasion, but will he force his way past Kyle Walker into the starting lineup, do you think, tomorrow, or maybe his chance, he may have to wait a bit?
I think he'd probably have to wait a little bit. I think Kyle Walker is the first choice for Gareth Southgate, and again, I think when you go into a big game, you think about dependability and I think Kyle Walker has proven himself. He's gone to the World Cup, and he was the first choice. And he can also, if they change system, he can play centre back as well. But I mean, what I would say about Trent Alexander-Arnold is that his set piece delivery and his crossing is so, he's proven himself. I mean, that the assist for the corner for Divock Origi was just a moment of genius, and I think again he's really pushing Kyle Walker to be first choice. But I just think for a big game like this, it would be somebody like Kyle Walker who would also be maybe just a little bit fresher, having had a couple of weeks off, 3 weeks off, rather than Trent, who played 90 minutes at extremely high intensity and high pace in Madrid.
Well, what Trent, of course, has done is keep another Tottenham player out of the squad in Kieran Trippier. But we were talking just now about the feel-good factor and Jordan Henderson, and surely the feel-good factor works fantastically well when you consider Kyle Walker and Raheem Sterling, given what Manchester City achieved this season. They must come into these two games in an absolute state of euphoria almost after what they achieved.
Yeah, I think we spoke to Fabian Delph actually. He didn't play as many games for City as he would have liked, but he was talking about how easy it's been for these City players to go from Pep Guardiola, possibly the best manager in the world, to England, and they find it very easy. And because of this bond that they have in the squad and the fact that Gareth Southgate's, a manager that they respect, and I think Gareth will really try. I think he has tried to tap into what a well-oiled machine Manchester City are, and it really does benefit. It really does benefit England, and like you say, that they've done nothing. They've done nothing but have a fantastic end of the season, and they can really take that into this weekend.
I mean, arguably, is Raheem Sterling England's most important player as we approach the Nations League semi-finals, given not just his form with Manchester City, but his form this season with England?
Yeah, I think it's really, it's a strange situation with Raheem that now he's had such a good season. It's almost expected that he's going to have these 9 out of 10 performances every time he plays, because that's what he's been doing. And he is a player who is, I think he's a team player as well. He puts yards in for England, which he did selflessly at Russia. And now with City and England, he's added those goals as well. I think he is one of the first on the team sheet for them. He's an important figure on and off the pitch this season. He's been a very important figure. But what he is brought here to do is to win England games, and I think with him in the team, they have a much better chance of doing that.
A milestone occasion for him, assuming he does play, which I'm sure he will, his 50th cap, a reflection of what you were saying, that he's become one of the senior players. His has been quite a journey this season, hasn't it? And not just on the pitch, but off the pitch. We've suddenly seen a much more mature Raheem Sterling, and a man who's important in football terms as well as just being a good player.
Yeah, he's spoken out. He's spoken out about racism that he's felt, and racism in football, and it's made him. It has really made him an icon of this England team, and maybe a symbol as well that this team stands for something more than just 11 players on the pitch. And I think England were in that position to bring the country together last summer in terms of getting that feel-good factor, and I think Raheem's part of that in a different way, that he's very important to football, bringing football together, and maybe giving it a bit more of a conscience as well.
We're expecting England to play 4-3-3, so we think Harry Kane and Raheem Sterling will be two of that front three. Who's your third one, Mike?
Well, I went to see Jadon Sancho at the end of the season. I think he is a player in incredible form. He's a teenager who makes the right decisions on the ball. That's very rare. You normally get raw players who run and they are skillful, but they don't make those mature decisions. He would, for me, be really pushing for it, but I think Marcus Rashford is somebody that Gareth Southgate has faith in. So I think if they are all fit, he would normally go for Southgate. He'd normally go for Kane, Raheem, and Marcus Rashford.
How much better do you feel England are now than when they were playing at the World Cup? Do you feel they've continued to develop and improve?
I think it's a completely different team in terms of the system, but it's something that they've shown. They've shown what good players they are by picking up that system and continuing to win. So I think it's Holland are in good form as well, but I think it's a frightening proposition for them.
All right, well, we're going to leave it there. The session is about to be closed, but just to let you know, you've been watching England training live, their final session with the Sun, supported by Utilita Energy. I've been Nick Collins, and our special guest was Mike McGrath, the Sun's football reporter.